It began before sunrise. Airfields across Europe suddenly came alive. Hangar doors opened in perfect synchronization from Norway to Greece. Hydraulic echoes rolled through the cold morning air. Within seconds, engines ignited. The roar multiplied. One base after another joined in. Control towers issued coded signals. Lights flashed across runways. Pilots moved fast, helmets sealed, visors down. Dozens of aircraft taxied to position. The sound grew dense, mechanical, relentless. At 05:42 local time, the first squadron lifted off from Ramstein. 2 minutes later, Aviano. Then Lask, Leeuwarden, Spangdahlem. A chain reaction in the sky. Witnesses on the ground counted more than 200 F-16s climbing through low clouds. Their vapor trails formed a single silver arc moving east. Radar stations across Central Europe registered a pulse spike. For a brief moment, screens went blank. Saturation. Then, hundreds of blips appeared. Aligned in geometric precision, operators froze. The data looked impossible. Command centers from Brussels to Warsaw switched to high alert. Transmission codes changed twice in under 10 minutes. Every aircraft followed a new encrypted route pattern known only to the Joint Coordination Cell. No one announced an exercise, no press release, no schedule filed. This was unscripted, a synchronized launch without public record. Over the Baltic, contrails merged into a dense corridor. Civilian traffic diverted. Air traffic control channels filled with reroutes and silence. Military frequencies carried only short bursts of encrypted chatter. Fragmentary, metallic, controlled. In Kaliningrad, Russian early warning systems triggered at 06:03. Alarms pulsed through regional command. Analysts watched their monitors as the formation's heading shifted. East-northeast, toward the frontier line. The signal resembled a strike package. Inside the Western Military District, phones lit up. Orders cascaded. Radar grids recalibrated. Tracking networks struggled to differentiate between targets. Each sweep revealed more returns, more confusion. Satellite feeds over Poland confirmed the pattern. A coordinated airborne corridor stretching over 800 kilometers, perfectly timed, altitude staggered, electronically linked. For the first time in years, Russia's defense architecture experienced full-spectrum interference. Communications slowed. Response windows narrowed. Command relays delayed by seconds, enough to cause uncertainty. At 06:21, the lead squadrons reached designated waypoints over the Masurian Lakes region. Formations split into triads. Sensors activated. Fuel transfer modules detached from escort tankers. The sky filled with movement, refueling, data link calibration, network syncs. Everything precise, silent, continuous. Observers described the scene as unreal. Hundreds of aircraft moving as one mechanism, each maintaining formation despite crosswinds and signal load. Pilots received course corrections through laser-tight encrypted bursts. No radio chatter, no delay. In underground bunkers across Germany and Poland, analysts traced trajectories. The algorithm behind the flight pattern resembled a live operational drill, but with strategic depth. Not a rehearsal, not a show, something between readiness and message. By 06:37, Russian radar networks began losing track. Returns fragmented. Ghost echoes appeared across the grid, masking true positions. Defense operators switched to manual mode. In Moscow, situation rooms filled with noise, conflicting reports, uncertain ranges, missing telemetry. Across Europe, dawn finally broke. The sky over the continent was no longer quiet. Hundreds of F-16s formed an invisible wall across NATO's eastern flank. The signal was clear, even without words, and in the silence that followed, one question remained. Was this a drill, or the first act of a new air strategy unfolding in real time? Inside command rooms from Kaliningrad to Minsk, the atmosphere thickens. Screens glow blue and red, tracing hundreds of unknown tracks. Data flickers, resets, stabilizes, then breaks again. Russia's early warning network strains under the load. Operators whisper numbers, recalibrate frequencies, and still the picture doesn't make sense. At 07 rounds, the first intercept orders go out. Su-35s and MiG-31s scramble from Chkalovsk and Kursk. Engines ignite, the sound rolling over empty tarmacs. Pilots climb fast, heading west through low-level haze. Their radar scopes show nothing solid, only fragmented clusters that vanish between scans. Across Europe, NATO coordination centers pulse with calm efficiency. Digital maps expand, contract, update in real time. Each F-16 feeds telemetry through a unified data lattice called Skylink, merging surveillance, navigation, and refueling cycles into one synchronized rhythm. It isn't just formation flying, it's network warfare in motion. In the NATO Air Operations Center in Ramstein, rows of analysts track patterns by seconds. Every aircraft is tagged, every corridor updated. Commands flow silently through encrypted nodes. No voice, no radio, only green confirmations flashing across consoles. By 07:22, radar coverage over Belarus shows anomalies, ghost signatures moving faster than expected. Electronic warfare units suspect jamming, but the interference pattern is too refined. It bends around radar frequencies instead of blocking them. Algorithms fail to isolate source points. The air looks full, yet empty. In Moscow, generals gather in the National Defense Control Center. A single map dominates the wall, covered in shifting icons. Some belong to the F-16 groups. Others are decoys inserted by electronic projection. Nobody can tell which is which. The command staff calls it visual noise. Inside NATO's communications grid, a secure burst code transmits from Brussels. Phase 2. Maintain signal discipline. Across the sky, nothing changes to the naked eye, but under the surface, every aircraft adjusts altitude by increments of 20 meters, enough to realign the tactical network for full coverage of the eastern frontier. At 07:41, the first Russian interceptors reach visual range. The air ahead looks clear, no targets, no contrails. Their onboard sensors register interference, but no solid lock. Pilots report static. Ground command orders radar mode shifts, but data loops back in circles. A silent wall in the sky. Meanwhile, reconnaissance satellites over northern Europe capture precise imagery. Heat trails from afterburners, formation geometry, atmospheric dispersion. The scale shocks observers in Washington and London. Never before have this many combat aircraft operated in synchronized coordination across so many airspaces. Civilian radar operators in Sweden and Finland report temporary blackouts. Screens freeze, then resume. Aviation authorities ground regional flights. In Tallinn and Riga, defense ministries release brief statements. Routine coordination activity. But internally, intelligence divisions flag the event as unprecedented. At 08:00, the formation begins to fan out. Triads of F-16s form electronic picket lines along the Baltic frontier, each unit maintaining data link with airborne command aircraft. From the ground, they appear as faint silver glints fading into altitude. Russian analysts start identifying patterns. Every flight corridor mirrors a blind spot in their long-range radar coverage. Each movement maps to a specific gap, as if the entire formation had been designed to expose weaknesses in the grid. For the first time, the scale of coordination becomes clear. This isn't provocation, it's mapping. Inside the NATO bunker at Lask, mission controllers rotate to secondary channels. Their interface shows cross-link stability at 99.8%. It means every aircraft, from Norway to Romania, remains connected to the same encrypted feed. The system behaves like a single organism, eyes, ears, and pulse aligned. By 0827, Russian communications networks experience short surges. Radar command channels flicker between frequencies, then go dark. Static fills monitors. Technicians trace the fault, but it's not hardware. It's signal drift induced by external electronic resonance. No warning, no trace, no attack signature. In the corridors of the Russian Defense Ministry, the word coincidence stops appearing in reports. Staff officers shift terminology from exercise to operation. The difference changes tone from observation to response. Over the next hour, airfields across western Russia prepare contingency plans. Refueling trucks roll out, standby pilots assemble. Command posts await clearance for counter-launch. None comes. Higher authorities order restraint. Observation only. From the outside, the sky looks quiet again. The mass of aircraft now hovers near the edge of radar range, holding pattern. A formation built not to strike, but to linger. Visible, deliberate, controlled. Every minute, it transmits one message through silence. Readiness. By 0903, international media start to pick up fragments of the story. Amateur videos show streaks of vapor at sunrise, distant thunder of jet engines, and silhouettes moving in perfect symmetry. Analysts on air struggle to interpret the scale. Some call it a show of unity. Others see rehearsal for the future of deterrence. In the Kremlin's underground situation room, lights dim. The defense minister studies the live feed, a mosaic of red blips inching along the western border. The question is no longer how many planes are in the air, but what they're doing there. The answer doesn't arrive, only silence, and the steady, rhythmic pulse of hundreds of aircraft holding their positions, unseen, waiting for the next command. By noon, the formation begins to descend in waves. Engines throttle back, altitude drops, and one by one, the F-16s turn west. Their trails stretch thin, fading over the horizon. What started as a single synchronized takeoff now ends as a controlled retreat across a calm sky. Inside NATO command centers, the data stream continues long after the aircraft touch down. Every second of telemetry, fuel usage, radar resistance, electronic interference, is archived and cross-referenced. Engineers already analyze signal drift and network cohesion, calculating how the formation held perfect synchronization under full electromagnetic load. In Brussels, a brief statement confirms what many suspected. The maneuver was part of a new strategic framework called Integrated Air Response. The goal wasn't confrontation, but calibration, testing Europe's ability to launch, link, and sustain massive air operations under real-world conditions. For the pilots, the mission's end is silent. Helmets off, suits unsealed. They step out into daylight. No celebration, no speeches. Just the steady hum of cooling engines and the weight of precision accomplished. Each crew member signs debrief logs, reviews system metrics, and moves on. Analysts summarize the results. The network performed beyond expectation. Response time between command nodes was reduced to seconds. Electronic interference from external sources was absorbed and redirected. Fuel management exceeded projections by 17%. The findings feed into a new model, the future European air defense grid. It's not a wall of weapons, but a living network of sensors, refuelers, and interceptors, all woven into one continuous system. The lesson is straightforward. Speed, coordination, and endurance now matter more than numbers. Russia's monitoring posts confirm the same outcome from another angle. Their radar logs reveal blind zones not previously recorded, gaps now charted for correction. The event becomes a case study on resilience, how to adapt to large-scale signal saturation without collapse. In Washington, policy advisors call the maneuver a success of deterrence by demonstration. No missiles, no engagements, only precision, presence, and discipline. A modern exercise in pressure through coordination, not confrontation. For military planners, this marks a turning point. The age of isolated squadrons and static defenses is closing. The next phase belongs to networks. Aircraft linked to satellites, satellites linked to ships, ships linked to command AI. Each layer strengthens the other. The message is strategic, not aggressive. Strength through integration. The takeaway for civilian sectors is equally relevant. Coordination at this scale mirrors the same principles used in technology, logistics, and crisis response. Rapid data flow, seamless communication, shared control systems. The operation proves that when networks act as one, efficiency replaces chaos. Analysts draw parallels to daily practice. The importance of readiness, structure, and adaptability. Whether managing information, teams, or security systems, the rules remain identical. Train continuously, maintain redundancy, minimize delay, and never rely on a single channel. Engineers already prepare refinements. Next-generation F-16 variants will integrate hybrid power modules, allowing longer patrols and reduced maintenance cycles. New refueling drones will support operations across extended ranges. Data encryption protocols will shift to quantum-resistant keys, reducing latency across command grids. In classrooms and academies, today's flight becomes doctrine. Students will study its architecture, the timing, precision, and signal management as a model for future joint operations. Every variable, from takeoff timing to return synchronization, will serve as blueprint for air strategy in the digital era. By sunset, Europe's skies are clear again. The last F-16 lands at Aviano under orange light. Ground crews guide it into hangar silence. The engines stop, and for the first time in 12 hours, the air is still. The final reports circulate quietly among Allied commands. No confrontation recorded, no airspace violated, no losses. Yet the impact is unmistakable. The balance has shifted, not through firepower, but through coordination, planning, and precision. In strategic terms, the operation proved a simple truth. Dominance today isn't measured in numbers of aircraft, but in the speed of connection between them. Technology, timing, and trust form the new triad of deterrence. For planners and observers alike, the lesson is broader. The most powerful defense is the one that anticipates disruption before it arrives. Systems that share information faster, respond cleaner, and act in unison will always prevail over isolated strength. As night falls over the continent, the story of the great F-16 launch fades from headlines but remains alive in the quiet architecture of data and memory. Across bases, technicians finalize reports, update software, recalibrate instruments. Tomorrow, the engines will start again. Smaller exercises, refined algorithms, continuous learning. No spectacle, no tension, just readiness woven into routine. And in that calm persistence lies the lasting advantage. Discipline, precision, and unity, replacing reaction with control. The skies are quiet, but the message endures. The balance has changed, and with it, the strategy for the world above.